Welcome back to another Overwatch layout controller tips video for PlayStation 4. Today we're doing Mercy. And it's a long overdue one. I wanted to do Mercy maybe a few weeks ago, but I had to wait for the new Mercy. And what you're watching here is me finishing up the final kind of last mapping that I needed to do to kind of make it all make sense together and work. It was that weapon swap, next weapon mapping. You can see me testing it out right there. Alright, so here's the mapping. We get next weapon on square. I'll talk about that later. Res is X, crouch is what you've seen before. Guardian Angel and jump are the L2 and L1, which is like the movement stuff, and then the R1 and R2 are what she does with her staff, the damage and healing. And so here's the gameplay. This is me, I think maybe my second or third game with this mapping, and you can see me just getting used to it right here, testing things out, and we're playing on Junkertown, of course, because Junkertown is new and fun. This is just a quick play, not a competitive match. By the time I'm recording this, I've got maybe, I don't know, 10 competitive games with Mercy or so. So I've been able to test this mapping pretty well, and 90% of it I'm familiar with anyway because it was just what I was using on Mercy before the new Mercy came along. But the most trouble I had was mapping the Res, of course, which is new. Basically, it's a new ability for her, so I didn't have a button to put that on to begin with. And then I had a real issue with the next weapon, which is, again, you're seeing me use it right here, and I'm just messing around trying to figure it out. So let's talk about this mapping. We'll start with the L side. So jump is on the L2, which should be familiar with you guys. You guys probably have L2 mapped to most of your heroes now, just like me, for your jump. It's very similar to bumper jumper. In fact, you could substitute bumper jumper for that pretty easily. And then the Guardian Angel I have on L1. So basically both the movement abilities are on the L side. The jump and Guardian Angel kind of make sense together for me. If I'm trying to escape from interactions with enemies where I'm pretty defenseless, I'm either jumping or looking for someone to Guardian Angel to. So that finger, kind of having that one responsibility, and the rocker pad for the two just makes sense to me. Like in my brain, it makes sense. On the R side, I have the damage on R1 and the heal on R2. Again, the rocker pad just goes. That's something you're going to flip between back and forth constantly. So that's what I use the rocker pad for on the R side. I feel like that's the most obvious thing of this entire layout. And then crouch, just like in the previous videos. If you haven't seen the previous videos, you can check it out here. That's my Zarya one. But in any event, I have crouch to the right on the D-pad, and I explain in that video a little bit more of why that's kind of okay. It doesn't feel awkward. It seems like an awkward choice, but it's really not. And then the Res I put on X. So with Res, it's an ability with a 30-second cooldown. So I try to use X, which is the button that most often you have to remove your finger from the thumbstick. I try to put the longest cooldown on that button so that I use it. It's like the most infrequent thing, especially the most infrequent amount of times I have to remove my finger from the thumbstick, that is. And it's especially if the ability that I'm putting on that key or on that button doesn't require any aim. And that's true with Res. You just kind of Guardian Angel in, hit X, aim is pretty irrelevant. So that's a pretty natural use of X, and you don't really lose anything by taking your finger off the thumbstick. And then this was probably the weirdest choice that I had was because I had to take my crouch and put it on the R side, that interrupted on the right side D-pad, that messed with my next weapon. And so I could have just put it on like R3 or swapped the crouch R3 and put the next weapon on the D-pad back. But I decided to kind of take it as an opportunity to try something new, and it worked out crazy good. And I don't think people would think to do what I did. So square is normally the button for reload. And on most heroes, you absolutely need to have a reload. But with Mercy, I decided to map the next weapon to square and just get rid of reload entirely, because Mercy is not very much of a DPS Mercy, and if you are doing lots of DPS as Mercy, maybe you might want to. It's like you could do DPS, but really you want to be focusing on healing your team. That's the most value you can give to your team. So when you whip out your pistol, it's just to defend yourself, and very infrequently, are you going to need to. You're going to be shooting as Mercy and want to reload halfway through a clip. You're either going to die or you're going to empty your clip, and it'll auto reload. Or you can swap. You can use square to swap back to your staff, and then like 3 seconds later, the ammo is automatically refilled. So there's so many conditions that will reload your gun, and the one of actually just forcing a reload is so not useful with Mercy that I just got rid of it. And it meant it's like a perfect choice. I'm able to swap to her and do some DPS and defend myself really quickly on the square button, but it's not something I do super frequently. That, I think, really kind of like solidified this mapping. That really was all I had for the Mercy layout. You can see this is like one of my early games, and I'm totally kind of getting it. Guardian Angeling all over the place, doing reses, swapping between the heal and the power or the damage boost. And it's a little quick play game, so we do end up winning this one, but and nothing too crazy. But just the fact that I was able to even move around and do the new abilities in a way that made sense on such an early game means I feel like the layout really makes a lot of sense. I look forward to hearing what you guys think of this. If you actually do use this controller layout, this mapping, let me know down in the comments if you guys like it. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of it. I think it's really solid. And so with that one, also leave in the comments any new heroes you guys want to see. That is all for this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed the new format where I created those images, and you can go back and freeze them if you want to use them for point of reference to do your mapping. I'll tell you, it's a lot easier than the way I did it, where I had to see what her ability number 1 is and ability number 2. You guys will know what I'm talking about if you go and try to make this controller layout. In any event, drop a thumbs up, subscribe. That's all I got for you guys. Peace.